Attachment for Krishna, an essential subject from Vinaypedia. People who are really attached to K never want to stop hearing about him. He is the reservoir of all pleasure. Attachment for Ka is quite natural. It is already there. Simply it has to be awakened. If you engage yourself to hear about Ka, then your heart will be purified and your original Ka consciousness will be awakened. Everyone can get this position. But there is a process. If you follow the process, then you will achieve attachment for Ka. Srila Prabhupada's books, lectures, conversations and letters offer a comprehensive presentation of this essential subject as seen in the Vinay's attachment for Krishna category. An introduction from his books is given below in the following 9 quotes. Quotes from Srila Prabhupada's books. By the association of pure devotees, attachment for Ka can be aroused, but if one commits offenses at the lotus feet of a devotee, one's shadow attachment or par attachment can be extinguished. This extinguishing is like the waning of the full moon, which gradually decreases and at last becomes dark. One should therefore be very careful while associating with pure devotees to guard against committing an offense at their lotus feet. Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 18. A wise man who becomes attached to Ka does not want any return from him, either in the form of relieving distress or in gaining money. This means that from the very beginning his basic principle of attachment to Ka is, more or less, love. Furthermore, due to his wisdom and study of scriptures, he can understand also that Ka is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 3. A pretender is sometimes seen possessing imitative attachment to Ka that will not be accepted as real attachment. It may be said, however, that such attachment gives the pretender hope that he may eventually rise onto the actual platform of pure devotional service. This imitative attachment can be divided into 2 headings, namely, shadow attachment and par, transcendental attachment. If someone, without undergoing the regulative principles of devotional service or without being guided by a bona fide spiritual master, shows such imitative attachment, this is called shadow attachment. Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 18. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Ka consciousness and make his life perfect. Bhagavad Gita 9.33. The Bhakti Yoga process contains 2 symptoms, namely attachment for the Supreme Lord and detachment from all material affinities. There are 2 symptoms of advancement in the process of devotional service, just as there are 2 processes taking place while eating. A hungry man feels strength and satisfaction from eating, and at the same time he gradually becomes detached from eating anymore. Similarly, with the execution of devotional service, real knowledge develops and one becomes detached from all material activities. In no other activity but devotional service is there such detachment from matter and attachment for the Supreme. Armad Bh Gavatam 3.32. 34-36. With any devotee who loves Ka with his heart and soul, Ka reciprocates in such a way that the devotee cannot but remain attached to him. The reciprocal dealings of Ka and his devotees are so attractive that a devotee cannot think of any subject matter other than Ka. Ka Book, Chapter 90. A question may be raised. If the Supreme Lord is all-powerful, why should he try to reform his devotee by putting him in distress? The answer is that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead puts his devotee in distress, it is not without purpose. Sometimes the purpose is that in distress a devotee's feelings of attachment to Ka are magnified. Ka Book, Chapter 88. The difference between a person in Ka consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness is that the former is attached to Ka whereas the latter is attached to the results of his activities. The person who is attached to Ka and works for him only is certainly a liberated person, and he has no anxiety over the results of his work. Bhagavad Gita 5.12. Renunciation is not as important as enhancing one's attachment to Ka. The Ka consciousness movement is especially meant for this purpose. We are preaching the principle that it does not matter whether a man is a sannyas or gihasta, householder. One simply has to increase his attachment for Ka, and then his life is successful. Following in the footsteps of Lord RKA, one can live with his family members or within the society or nation, not for the purpose of indulging in sense gratification but to realize Ka by advancing in attachment for him. Ka Book, Chapter 90.